Hello, do you have two cats and one automatic feeder? Well, I do, and it was always an issue. Dominant cat would never let the other cat eat while she was eating. When she got through, maybe he got his fair share, maybe not, but it was always something I worried about. So I devised this so that they can both sit and eat at the same time. It separates the food out into two fairly equal portions when it comes out, and the two of them sit there next to each other with a partition between them, and they both eat, they're both happy, they both get their fair share. This was very inexpensive to make, it was easy to make, and I'm going to show you how to make one too. To start with, I'm going to show you how this thing is supposed to work. Basically, the hopper up here is full of cat food. You got numerous controls here for controlling schedules and how much food drops when and things of that nature. But just to show you how it works, if I hit the button for manual, that'll make it drop one serving of food. And I have found this particular feeder to work quite well. It's just that my two cats won't sit next to each other and eat. And that's why I had to devise something different to separate the food. This is what I start with. This is corrugated plastic. It's just like cardboard except that it's plastic. It makes a very good durable product for small craft things like this when you're trying to build something. You can get these at your local sign shops, maybe your hobby stores, but this particular piece is 24 inches tall, it's 36 inches wide. If you find this in a local sign shop or hobby shop, if they want more than about $5 or $6 for this, go shop somewhere else. I think I gave, it was less than $5 tax and everything at my local sign shop for this. So if it's more than $5 or $6, go check around. The next thing you're going to need is duct tape. Now you can't be a DIYer if you don't have duct tape, so you probably have that on hand. If you don't have duct tape, a good quality tape of any sort about would work. I mean, the black electrical tape would work. Scotch tape is probably going to tear up on you, but it would be good for a short term. Masking tape, same thing. It would work for a short term, but probably not long term. But duct tape's kind of hard to beat for a little craft project like this. Then you're going to need something to cut this with. I use my pocket knife a lot. Little Swiss Army knife. I love that thing. You maybe use a pair of scissors, kitchen knife, X-Acto knife, whatever you got. It's not so important what you've got to cut it with, just that you've got something you can cut it with. And just be careful with the ridges in here. Like I said, it is just like cardboard except that it's plastic. And sometimes when you're cutting it, your knife wants to jump a bit. So just be careful that you don't cut yourself or cut into your kitchen table or wherever you're working. Just be careful with cutting, and the stuff's not that hard to cut. This is how I started. I set my automatic feeder on one end of my corrugated plastic. I said my old tray comes out to about here. I want to go a little bit further than that, so I just set something here to kind of mark that. Take the tray off, set it aside. So I want to go out to there, and I want to add about 1 inch to it. So I want to cut it here. Now folks, I'm not going to tell you the dimensions of this thing, okay? Because it doesn't matter. What matters is that it works for you. If yours, wherever you're going to put it, if it needs to be a little bit narrower, make it a little bit narrower. If it needs to be a little longer, a little shorter, do that. Make something that works for you. Don't get stressed out about exact dimensions, okay? The one thing I will tell you is when you decide how far out you want the tray to come, add about 1 inch to it, because you're going to take that inch and turn it up as a lip, as the edge of your enclosure to keep the food from getting out on the floor and making a mess on your floor. So that's the only thing that you really need to know. Make something that works for you. Don't get stressed out about dimensions. If you're enjoying my videos so far and you think this will work for you, I'd really appreciate it if you go down to the comment section below and just make a quick comment of how many cats you have. Maybe their names if you've got a little extra time. And also near the end of my video there will be a clip of my feeder actually functioning with the cats coming up to eat from it. So you know, watch the whole video and don't miss the clip. My two cats, I got two. The black one is called Bella, She's the dominant cat, and the other one is white. His name is Tater. And you'll see Bella and Tater come up to the feeder after it starts dropping food, and they'll have their supper. So don't miss that at the end of our video. Now let's get back to building this apparatus so you can save some money building your own. Okay, now I decided that I need mine cut right about here. I'm going to take my knife, that's where I decided on. There's more cat food, make the cats happy again. There you go, Tater. Alright. Now I've set my automatic cat food feeder off to the side. I've marked where I want to cut straight across here. I'm going to take my knife, make me a little indentation there so I don't miss it. And I'm going to follow this line. And I know you can't see me when I'm doing this. I'll try to turn this around this way. But the ridges, the holes, or the flutes, whatever you want to call them, are running this way. That makes it real easy to follow that flute straight down. Okay? Here again, be careful you don't make it cut your table. Finish the cut on the other end. And there's the piece I'm going to work with. Now you can see this edge ain't particularly even. It kind of got a little bit waffly on me. I don't care about that. That's going to be at the back anyway. So this is the piece I'm going to start with. Here again, the feeder is going to sit right about here. We're going to make a 1-inch lip around the edges, at the back, both sides, and the end here. We're going to turn those edges up. Now I'm going to show you how to do that part. Now for the lip that we're going to turn up on the edges to make the edge of the enclosure, we need to make an incision right down through here, but not all the way through. Like I said, this is corrugated plastic. It's just like cardboard. We want to cut through the first layer but not the second layer as we go down through there. Now I got this piece of 2x6, which is overkill, but it's what I had handy. And that's what I'm going to cut on top of so I don't cut my table. And I got my level, because it's 1 inch wide, makes a good guide for me. You can use whatever you want. Just be careful that you try to get this cut as straight as you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. Close is good enough, but try to get it straight. But take your knife, and I'm going to run this edge between the flutes of the corrugated plastic. Now the flute is the part that stands up with the hole in between. You want to cut where that hole is at, the open area. So I'm going to take my knife and cut right down through there, through the first layer but not the second layer. Now what I end up with is it's real easy to do that. Hopefully you can see that. Basically, I went down through there, I cut through the first layer of the plastic, but not all the way through. That way I can turn this edge up to make the edge of the enclosure that the food will stay within. I'm going to do that on all 4 edges. And one thing I will tell you, that doing this edge is a little more difficult because you're cutting across those ridges in the plastic. Okay? Show you a little bit about that. I'm going to put my level on here the same way. Whatever straight edge you got will work fine. Be careful you don't cut all the way through when you cut this. I'll put my knife on there, and I'm going to do that. I'm not sure I cut that deep enough, but we're about to find out. I'll take that, bend it up. See how that looks? Now what I do on the corners is I got this piece that's cut, this folds up like that. I got this piece that folds up. This piece right here in the corner, I want to cut that out. Okay? So that's easy enough to do. I just do that. Do that. And now that corner piece is cut out. So when I fold this up, I got a nice squared off edge. Now if you want to, you can leave that on there and just leave it into the inside. You can cut it off and throw it away. It doesn't matter, whatever you want to do is fine. But that's how I'm going to do the edge all the way around. Now at this point, I've trimmed halfway through the corrugated plastic on all 4 edges. I flipped up my corners and I cut the corner pieces out. Like I said, that's personal preference, but I like to cut them out. Now I'm going to take duct tape, and I've cut my duct tape lengthways, so it's only half as wide as normal. I'm going to put a piece right there, come across on that edge, and I'm going to do that all the way around on all 4 corners. Pretty basic stuff. Let's go ahead and finish this up right quick. Duct tape does a wonderful job here. It may not be the prettiest thing in the world, but it works very well. And there you got your tray finished up. Got a lip all the way around to keep the food contained. Now when I made my first one, this was the kind of tray I used. And one thing I found that was an issue that I had to fix was the battery compartment for this thing is on the bottom. Okay? And I couldn't get to it without untaping everything, because when this is finished I tape this to this so things don't move around. So it made it difficult. I had to untape stuff to get to the batteries to replace them. So what I did, now I want the feet, the 4 feet here, to sit on the corrugated plastic for stability. But I cut a hole here the size of the battery compartment so I could just flip this thing, this whole mechanism up and change the batteries without untaping this from this. Okay? So what I did, I carefully figured how big the compartment was, and I just cut that hole out. That's what I'm going to do next, and then we'll proceed from there. Now I've measured and marked where I want to cut this. You can see I used a black Sharpie, and I measured to make sure that this is not as wide as the feet are apart, because like I said, I want the feet sitting on the corrugated plastic for stability. So now I'm going to see if I can cut this with my scissors, just because I told you you could. May not be the easiest thing in the world to do, but you can cut it with scissors. I like my knife better. Seems like as I get up that way it's a little more difficult, but I can cut it that way. And I gotta tell you, I definitely like my knife better, so I'm gonna go back to that route. I'm going to go ahead and cut down lengthways. Get my knife in there. Get that cut. And yeah, it's definitely easier to get my knife in there. Now what I'm going to do here on the back is, you see I cut all the way through the back lip. Okay, the back lip, I cut that part out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this thing on here. And my scissors just fell off the table. Oh well. That's okay. Now I'm going to center this thing up the way it goes. And I'm going to cut right down through here. I'm going to take that part and flip it down. Okay? I'll show you in a little bit why I'm going to do that, but that's what I'm going to do. So let's go ahead and just cut that so it can lay down flat. Again, be careful you don't cut your table. I cut my table, ain't got nobody to be mad at but me, but pardon me. Okay, now the way I designed this is the feeder's going to sit back just a little bit. And I cut that a little bit too close, but it's going to sit there like that. I can look in from the front and I can see that my hole is centered underneath where it needs to be. So that's where I want everything. If I flip it up without letting anything shift, you can see the battery compartment is right there where I can open it up. And if I need to get to the power switch, I can get to that. Might need to trim just a little bit more up here. I think I'll cut maybe another 1/2 inch or so off of that, and we'll be good to go. So that's how we cut that part out. But like I said, I'm going to cut just a little bit more out of this to give me a little bit more room for my battery compartment. But if you've got a different feeder, if you've got this kind, like I said, it's not rocket science. Make it work for you. And don't worry about, don't get stressed out over exact dimensions. Just make it work for you. Now at this point, we got our tray made, we got our hole cut, so when all this is assembled, we can still get to our battery compartment. Now one thing I did do on the back, I trimmed this just a little bit wider so the whole feeder could slide back just a little bit. I had it too close, but I still want the back feet here sitting on the corrugated plastic. I want that connection between the feet and the corrugated plastic for stability. We'll be taping that together. And this thing dropped food while I was playing with things and adjusting things, so a little bit of food here. My cats are right at my feet. They're wanting to get fed because they know it's supper time. But anyway, that's how the back should be looking for you. And at the front, you need something here. Now this is what I had made from the old one, and I'm going to use this for a pattern. But you can see that, how it's made. But you need something like that that'll fit up in here, just under the chute that drops the food. Now, to get this designed the way you want it, it's not really a big deal. Just get you a piece of old cardboard or some stiff paper or something, and just trim it until it fits in there. It doesn't have to be precise, just fairly close, but with a bit of an angle here, about a 45-degree angle. If you can see that on the side, you can kind of see this angle. I found that angle works good. When the food drops out of the feeder, it hits this, it slides out here, and it gives a good disbursement for the cats to eat their food. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one, and I'm going to go ahead and tape that down. I'm going to get my duct tape over here, if I can find the end of it. We'll put a piece of tape right there. Okay? Now the other thing we need is a partition here. Now depending on your cats, your partition may need to look a little differently. This is my old partition. I'm not going to cut another one, but I just took this off my old feeder, or my old setup. But basically it looks like this. Hopefully you can see that. You see the little thing there? This fits in here. Now, I made this a little different than the other one. So this one don't fit just exactly like the other one did. Okay? So what I'm going to do, because I'm going to go with this, I'm going to figure where this thing needs to be cut. I'm going to cut a little bit off the back end of it. I think I'll cut it to about there. Right there. I'll cut it right there. Being careful not to cut the table. And then that'll fit right there. Still just a touch tight. Trim this a little bit off the edge there. Get it kind of close to the center. But you don't have to be real precise about this. I know I keep saying that, but some people get really stressed out about exact dimensions of things. It doesn't matter. You need a partition. You need it to be a little bit high, a little bit long as you can get it a little bit high. But the main thing is that it separates your cats. Now I'm going to tape this thing in place like this. And I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to put some tape in place, and I'll come back and I'll show you where I taped it. Now we're almost finished. I added tape to the side here, a little bit on this corner, on the other side the same way. And another thing I did was on the bottom, I put tape here and then up the back of the feeder to help secure this part at the back. I'm losing some cat food. But I put tape there that goes up the back of the feeder to secure the back of the feeder to the corrugated plastic there a little bit better. And so that's what I got. Now the one last thing that you have to do for an adjustment, like I mentioned a little bit earlier about we make this part and it goes right in here. When you do this part, and I still need to cut just a wee more off the back of this thing. Give me just a minute here. Let me cut that off just so this thing fits a little bit better. But it goes right there. But the thing that you adjust is, one thing I found in my feeder, it doesn't disperse food exactly evenly as it comes down the chute. So I put that there. I kind of adjust it for close to center. Get myself a couple more pieces of duct tape here. I'm going to put one piece back here on the back side, just back here at the back edge. I'm going to put a piece here on that edge. But I don't want a piece here. I want to be able to adjust this. Okay? Now, when I hit manual feed, I watch this thing feed and I look at the food. Now right there, it looks like it's pretty close to center, but most of the food is on this side. There's not so much on this side. So I'm just going to push all that over to the side. Push this over to the side, just get out of my way for now. And I'm going to move that over some. I'm going to do manual feed again. Well, I need to hold it a little longer. There we go. And at that point, I'm getting pretty even amounts of food on both sides. So this is an adjustment that you have to do to make sure that when the automatic feeder drops food, it drops a pretty even amount on both sides. Now if I don't mess myself up, and my cats are just really wondering about supper because it's a little bit past their supper time. And they're both right here at my feet going, hey dude, eat. Alright, I'm going to put a piece of tape back here. I'm going to move this food out to the side, and I'm going to try it again just to see if I messed up my spot. And that's pretty even, so that's where I'm going to leave it. I'll put another piece of tape here. And then I'm going to give me a couple more pieces of tape. because this is going to want to wiggle around. Your cats are likely going to be bumping against it. So it needs to be fairly secure in your taping. Okay, so I'm also going to put tape here and on the other side, just to help make sure that this thing doesn't move around and both cats get their fair share. And I'm going to test this one more time now that I've taped all that down. Hit manual feed, let it do its thing. And I got pretty even food on both sides. So that's good to go. So at this point, this thing is ready for the cats. I just need to pick all this food up, put it back in a hopper, take this back where their food bowl set it down, and I'll hit manual feed a time or two so they get supper and they'll be happy. But that's it. You can make this thing for, less than $6 or $7, a little bit of time, and you got a place that your cats can sit next to each other and don't really bother one another. I know it works for my 2 cats. Hopefully it'll work for yours, and it'll save you some money. If you find this video helpful, I really would appreciate it if you would click like and also subscribe to our channel. We've got a lot more stuff coming. I hope to have more videos about the cat related stuff, and maybe even some dogs. But I do have cats and dogs in the family, and we'll be doing stuff as time goes on with both of them. So we really appreciate your help, and thank you for visiting Do It Yourself with Wayne.